Minneapolis in crisis after second fatal ICU shooting. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minneapolis has become the epicenter of national outrage and political tension after federal immigration agents fatally shot Alex Pretti, a 37-year-old intensive care nurse and U.S. citizen, during an immigration enforcement operation over the weekend. Pretti's death, the second fatal shooting involving federal officers in the city this month, ignited large protests, clashes with law enforcement, and fierce political debate across the United States. Pretti was killed on Saturday, January 24th, when U.S. Border Patrol agents engaged with demonstrators opposing federal immigration enforcement. Minnesota police identified him as a lawful gun owner, but viral video footage reviewed by major media suggests he was unarmed and filming agents when he was tackled and shot, contradicting initial claims by Trump administration officials of a violent threat. This killing followed the earlier January 7th shooting of Renee Good, another 37-year-old U.S. citizen, by an ICE agent during an enforcement action in South Minneapolis, a death that already had intensified scrutiny of Operation Metro Surge, the federal immigration crackdown in the city. Protests and public response. Thousands of protesters have gathered in bitter cold outside federal and city sites, demanding accountability and the withdrawal of ICE agents. Demonstrations have sometimes turned confrontational, with reports of chemical irritants and crowd control measures deployed by federal personnel as protesters marched and vandalized property at hotels believed to house ICE agents. Local officials, including Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Governor Tim Walz, have called for a reduction of federal presence and independent investigations into both shootings. Frey announced that some federal agents would begin to leave Minneapolis amid mounting public anger. The protests have reverberated nationally, spreading solidarity demonstrations to cities including New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Boston, and other U.S. hubs, with activists calling for immigration policy reform and accountability for federal enforcement practices. Political fallout and national debate. The controversial incidents have triggered a deep political divide. Federal government and Trump administration. President Donald Trump acknowledged the controversy, stating his administration was reviewing everything and signaling willingness to work with Minnesota leaders after a call with Governor Walz. However, the White House has continued to defend the federal agents' actions while also attempting to de-escalate rhetoric. Some senior officials who initially defended aggressive tactics, including Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, have faced calls to step down. Bipartisan and broader criticism. Political reactions have been notably bipartisan in their concerns. Republican lawmakers and governors have called for independent and transparent investigations into the handling of Pretti's death, emphasizing the need for accountability and improved training of federal officers. Gun rights advocates, including the NRA and other Second Amendment groups, criticized the administration's framing of Pretti's legal firearm possession in justifying the shooting. Former President Joe Biden, speaking out as a private citizen, condemned the killings as a violation of Americans' constitutional rights and urged full investigations into federal use of force. Calls have also grown within Congress for reconsidering Department of Homeland Security funding tied to ICE operations, with some Democrats threatening to oppose new appropriations unless enforcement practices are reined in. Legal and accountability questions. Minnesota and civil liberties organizations are pursuing legal challenges to federal enforcement tactics, arguing that aspects of Operation Metro Surge, characterized as the largest immigration enforcement effort in DHS history, violate constitutional rights. Courts are scrutinizing evidence preservation and federal transparency, and some judges have weighed limits on federal immigration activities in the state. A nation watching. As Minnesota grapples with grief, anger, and demands for systemic reform, the events in Minneapolis have reignited long-standing debates about federal authority, immigration enforcement, civil liberties, and the role of armed agents in domestic policing. With protests continuing and political pressure mounting from all sides, the situation remains fluid and emblematic of broader national tensions ahead of pivotal elections. If you'd like, I can also prepare a timeline of events or a side-by-side breakdown of official versus video evidence accounts from the shootings.